These moto gadgets are obscure and ingeniously useful, but YouTube is a hall of mirrors designed to keep us watching instead of doing, buying instead of making, so just to be totally clear, you don't need any of this shit. This looks like the gateway to another dimension, but it's actually a chain brush. Until now we've had 1, 2, or 3-sided options, all of which require occasional repositioning. But Tyrox is the type of company to solve problems that hardly exist, hence the 360-degree brush. When they actually hold online contests where people suggest niche annoyances to fix, is truly a company that values making things over making money. Rare. Screw it on, then stretch it out to tighten the bristles against the chain. It cleans every crevice. And the best part is that it collapses to fit inside the cap of your cleaner. So now we have a dilemma. Do I spend $10 to get an objectively better tool, or do I resist fixing something that wasn't broke in the first place? Let me consult my crystal balls. No, wait, these are actually the cleverest wheel balancers around. Take your motorcycle's front end, which I've drawn this way because to a physicist everything looks like a wheel on a spring. Only most tires have a heavy spot, so now we have a mass on a wheel on a spring, otherwise known as an engineer's wet dream. As the heavy point rotates up, it compresses the suspension. As it spins down, it extends. Such is the annoying vibration you feel when your wheel is out of balance. The least of your concerns, really. Poor tire and fuel consumption is the midst, and tank slappers followed by a flamboyant death is the worst. So we stick weights opposite the heavy point to balance things out. But what if your tread picks up a rock or a mud bug sucks off your weights? Then the balance is screwy again. So lose the weights and put these tiny glass balls inside the wheel. No matter what happens outside, these work in real time to counteract it. See, as our tire spins, the centrifugal so-called force spreads the beads around. But when the heavy point swings upward and compresses the suspension, the whole tire rises, meaning our free beads have a downward shift relative to the wheel. Then as the heavy point drags the tire downward, the beads have a relative upward shift. So what we end up with eventually is this. Effectively the same result as wheel weights. Smooth and yes, silent. Inventive motorists have been doing this for a long time, using liquids, sands, BBs, but most of the free options rub your tire raw and clog your valve cores. Whereas special glass balls have a special static electric coating. They actually cling to the rubber rather than sliding around, rather than grinding against each other, rather than falling out of balance at slow speed. Well worth the $10 for a wheel full of beads, especially since they come with filtered valve cores to prevent clogging. 2 warnings. These work on all tires, tube, tubeless, even TPMS sensors, though in that case you'll have to break the bead to pour the balls in rather than squirting them through the valve. However, super sport riders should beware. At stupid speeds like 200-ish, the centrifugal so-called force overcomes oscillatory forces and redistributes the beads evenly, ruining your balance at a rather inopportune moment. Secondly, pushing your balls through the tiny orifice requires much pumping. But let's move on before we get demonetized. Now, Hardline's Tread Doctor looks like a soldering iron, which it is, but the use is so essential I'm surprised I didn't discover it sooner. See, off-road tires grip differently. They rely on tread knobs to push laterally against the dirt. And because rubber is well supported near the tire body and less so at the tip, they deform progressively as you apply power. Progressive stress leads to progressive wear. See how the driving edge is rounded off at the top? Of course you can flip your tire to use the opposite, sharper edges, but that only works once. Or rather half works since you're now using the faded side for braking. Or rather doesn't work if your tires are directional. So the Tread Doctor, which is really just a hot knife, allows us to cut new edges for like-new grip. It's set to a temperature that makes shaving possible, though not so hot that the rubber burns and makes your garage smell like the Michelin Man's butthole. If you excise the minimum amount to create a sharp profile, well, you'll leave enough tire for next time, and next and next. It's possible to keep a tread at peak effectiveness for its entire life. So how much difference does that make? Now, I measured the wear on my old tire at 30 degrees off vertical, so if our F0 is now acting normal to that surface, this is 60 degrees, meaning our lateral force is F0 sine 60 is about 15% worse. Only what we've lost to this downward component acting to lift the tire, so in reality grip is even more diminished. I'd estimate there's 20 to 30% gains to be had. Not including this sniper head, which recarves tread grooves to restore wet weather performance, or adds new grooves if you want to customize your tire's flex to mold around rocky surfaces. Of course, all of this decreases the total life of your tire. Knobs chunk off faster once you've cut them, even though you'll have superior grip in the meantime. It comes down to whether you'd rather have a sticky tire for 10 rides or an iffy tire for 15. Now this looks like the worst sex toy in the world, but it's actually a fuel pump.
Look, Mom, no hands!
Screw Jerry, clip the nozzle to your gas tank and press the button. No need to lift all 20 liters nor spill any of it. Our pump even has an auto stop sensor. The idea comes from mail-order garbage. You know how jerry cans turn you into a felony arsonist, and siphon tubes immediately put a liter of gasoline in your mouth? But the principle is fruitful, so TerraPump built a quality one. It actually moves the 11 liters per minute that they claim. And yes, if you're thinking what I am, you can run it the other way to drain your tank. Though not quite to the last drop. This is just an impeller and a tube, so when the fuel runs out and the liquid seal is broken, whatever's in the hose will backflow. For that reason, you should also chaperone the overflow shutoff feature. It does shut off, but if your receiver is lower than your donor, whatever fuel is in the hose will still siphon over. TerraPump makes a million variations, big ones for drums, little manual ones, and this particular AA powered pump is called the TRF-A01, which is very memorable because it's also the name of Elon's new baby. Other cool gadgets are the Hardline Tread Doctor, Counteract Balance Beads, and Tyrox's 360-degree chain brush. But remember, you don't need any of these, so close this video and go ride. Rotates upward and compresses the suspension. Keep it treaded. Lateral. You'll have to whether you'd rather take your motorcycle's front end. One sec.